listening to the relaxing, soothing, and stress-free sounds of Sacramento Smooth Jazz.
Welcome back to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. This is Michael Andrews, and as I promised you, we got a treat for you. We got Dee Lucas, the talented saxophonist who is known for his smooth and soulful sound. He's with us today. Dee Lucas has established himself as a mainstay in the worlds of jazz and contemporary music for nearly 2 decades. He brings his passion and dedication to every project, whether it's performing at a sold-out concert venue or collaborating with other artists at the studio. His mesmerizing stage presence and remarkable music have earned him a worldwide fan base and following. So allow me to introduce Dee Lucas to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. Dee, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Michael. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, man.
Man, I'm glad you have some time because I know you're busy. You got some great music out there, man, and got concert dates coming up, and you're just doing your thing, man. So I'm glad you made some time for us today, man. So what's happening today? I understand you in the studio right now. What's going on?
Man, I have been in the studio consistently for the last 2 months now. Basically, when my touring kind of subsided a little bit back in the late October, at the end of October, that's when I started to go feverishly into the studio and trying to wrap up this new album called No Boundaries, which is coming out in March. So it's basically been just chilling around the house and just focusing on the creative side of the new record.
Nice. I like how you said record. It tells me your age group.
Oh man, I'm old school, man. Definitely a record. I would have said album, but I'm gonna say record.
Right. Now tell me something now, because I'm understanding. I'm looking at your bio, but there's some things in the bio that that are not there that I want people to talk. I want people to hear some things that's not in your bio on your webpage. But you've kind of taken a different route than many other musicians to get where you are with respect to your experience and like some people started when they were 5, 6, 8 years old. Your path is a little bit different. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, actually, my path is quite different. I didn't actually pick up the saxophone until I was, I want to say around 28, 29 years old. I've always wanted to play an instrument. I've always wanted to pursue the creative side, but growing up, I was more into sports. And growing up, my family, my parents gave me an option. Hey, look, you can't do both, but just pick one. Music or athletics. And I chose athletics because it was the popular choice coming from the environment that I grew up in. And then that led over, to college. And then when I got out of college, that's when I decided to pursue an opportunity in music. Did not know exactly how I was going to do it, but I used to go out to a lot of the jazz clubs, a lot of my friends, in music and stuff, and they really inspired me to pursue music. I was working a 9 to 5, but I also had a dormant period where there was nothing else going on. I had no more schooling, so it was just work. So after that, I said, you know what, this is a great opportunity for me to start pursuing a passion that could lead to something else. And I started self-teaching myself. But at the same time, just had some tidbits from some great musicians in the Atlanta area. And one thing led to another, and gratefully, it's a God's gift, I must say, that I somewhat caught on pretty fast. And then to basically collab that with, business skills, I was able to put some things together to kind of make myself kind of self-sufficient from the business end. And here we are. Got my own records out, 10 albums out. I should say 9 records out on a record label that I'm nurturing to own my content and just go from there. I'm enjoying the journey. It seems like yesterday, but it's been a very long time.
When you're in the cyclone, if you will, when you're in it, everything's going around you so fast. But I'm glad that you chose music. I'm sure everyone else is as well. But let me ask you this: what made you choose specifically your instrument of choice? What was that about?
I actually enjoyed that sound, particularly with the saxophone, the soprano at that. Now, I didn't know any better at the time when I chose it because did not realize that the soprano was more the difficult of the saxophone family, more so than alto or tenor. But I witnessed the soprano by listening to Ronnie Laws, George Howard, Grover Washington. And I even noticed just listening to some older traditional jazz cats like John Coltrane. He was more on the tenor side, but the fact that the soprano was a very unique instrument, it kind of lent itself to my personality, which is very unique. To the left, it's not the mainstay of the popular choice. So, but that's just, it's more of a unique thing. I really like the timbre on it. And I just kind of gravitated more to soprano. Saxophone itself, I think it was my choice because it's more the voicing on it. Oddly enough, Michael, when I was growing up, I was more of a bass. I love bass guitar.
Nice.
I grew up listening to Bootsy, Larry Graham, all those cats.
Right.
It wasn't until college that I started, digging contemporary jazz. And that's where I started hearing more of the soprano on the contemporary side with Grover and George, and some of the things that they were doing to it. They were really taking good R&B cuts and just really making it their own vibe. And I just fell in love with it, man.
It seems that you really paid attention to, when it comes to your music. I can see you put a lot of thought into it, and you're doing it not because of, I'm just going to just choose this. And you said because you had no idea what you were doing in terms of choosing the soprano because it was the hardest of all. And I've heard that before. And, but let me ask you this, when you said you've always wanted to pursue music, and it's a life, that right there is a life lesson to people, where they've always wanted to pursue a certain goal or a certain industry and they never did. And you did it, close to age 30, or when it comes, and you started right away and you caught on really fast. So I think that's a wonderful example as to it's not too late. So for those of you who or thinking about music or industry or, hey, just do it. Dee Lucas is an example of it because he is great at his music and his craft. And but I noticed that you said it's not just the music, but it's the business side of it also. Right. And so you're laying that foundation, not just with the music, but with the business side, so that you own your music, you own some things. So that way it sounds like you're preparing for the future, for profitability, stability, and things of that nature, because you want to leave a legacy, no doubt.
Right. Well, I think first and foremost, music, because that is the act that I really feel that I can contribute the most to giving back to someone else. I just think music tears down a lot of barriers, whether it's social, racial. It just tears down a lot of barriers, not just in one particular country.
Yes.
It's a global thing that can really tear down barriers.
Yes.
And it's just more of a human thing that I pursue, that I want to just give back and instill into others and empower through the music. Right. Now, ownership. I just truly believe that ownership that's the legacy for you. Ownership is power. And if you can control what you know, own what you know, and know what you own. But, we have heard the stories of some of the great artists that passed away broken. I mean, I don't like saying the word broke financially, but just broken, with nothing to pass on. That is something that can be avoided. And it can be avoided through ownership control. Now, does that always translate into financial satisfaction or financial gains? Well, maybe not right away, but long term, that's what you have to look at. Legacy. And smart, it comes when it comes. But I think at the end of the day, you have to control and own, because if you work for someone else, and I don't want to get too deep with this, if you work for someone else, you're making them rich.
That's right.
And that's okay.
That's it, man. That's something that should be noted. We got to take what we're doing seriously so that we can have an established future. Now, speaking of established future, it sounds to me that, you have a purpose in this.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. If you just tuned in, I'm speaking with talented saxophonist Dee Lucas. He's known for a smooth and soulful sound, and he's with us today, and we're just having a conversation, and he's sharing. So, Dee, tell me, what are you thinking about when it comes to specific songs that are hitting the charts for you? What inspired a specific song for you?
Well, Full Tilt is all about, hey, let's go. Let's get back up to speed. Well, that record came out during the pandemic, and the world has shut down. So my whole mindset was, okay, at some point in time, we got to get back on our feet. We gotta hit this thing full tilt. Let's get back to the way things were. Not to say that it will ever be the same, but we have to get our mind right to move forward. And once we move forward, let's don't look back.
I will never hear that song the same now. You know, Full Tilt, understanding the purpose that you wrote it, the reason why you wrote it. It's, for me, it would be now a greater inspiration when I'm thinking about forging ahead. That song now, understanding the roots of that, the foundation of that, when you created it, it'd be more impactful for me, not just for myself, but for our listeners also. So for you listeners, this is impactful. I'm grateful. If you just tuned in, I'm having a conversation with saxophonist Dee Lucas, and he's sharing his passion, sharing his world with us for a few minutes. And I'm grateful that he spent some time, or chose to spend some time out of his busy schedule to hang out with me just for a few minutes. So let me ask you this. Now, you have kids.
Yep.
You know, so are they taking the same path as you with respect to music, or what's their, how they look at this?
Yeah, that's it's very odd, man, because I never realized the impact that I have on my kids. You know, for example, my son Darius is 23, and my daughter Tiffany is 14. Well, when Darius was growing up, Darius played baseball. Okay. He started when he was 3. He played for 15 years until he was 18, his first year in college. I watched, and I actually helped coach Darius into development. But at the same time, that's when I was also parallel to my music, not knowing that Darius was paying attention to me from an artistic side. He wanted to play. I think he pursued trumpet for like a year in middle school, but something didn't go right. I think the program was, I think it was at a point where a lot of the schools were cutting out a lot of the middle school band, and it just was not very inspiring to him to see hours of practice being cut. It just wasn't motivating. But what I did not realize is that he was paying attention to a lot of the things that I was accomplishing as an artist, and I think it inspired him. And Darius is in college, but he's also he's into hip hop. He does music. He produces his own stuff. He's into the hip hop world, but it's still a creative thing. And I sat down and asked him, I said, what made you get into that? He said, it's not jazz, but I just love the creative side. And I can see that in him because he's very, very free-spirited. He's very laid back, but he's very free-spirited, very loving kid. So that's where he is. Now, Tiffany, she started on the piano, and I just think that was something that her mother asked her, would you like to try? And she stayed with it for about 3 or 4 years. As a kid, around 5, 6, 7. Then she went into dance, tap, ballet, and dance. So she's into dance, and she is really great. And she's been doing that almost 10 years now. She started when she was 4, and she does a lot of the emoji dances. Yeah, hip hop, African dances, and she loves it. But here again, it's that creative side. So to say that I think they did see me as inspiration, not directly as a musician, but the side of being an artist. So who knows, man? I never pushed it on him.
Now, as you're talking, I'm noticing an accent. Yeah. Let our listeners know where you're from and where's home.
Man, I'm from the South. I'm from the South. It kind of fluctuates, but if I get excited, I'm Bama. I'm built by Bama. So I was born and raised in Alabama, man. And I moved to Atlanta, going on 30 years now. So it's home, but I'm from the South. It is what it is.
It's all right, man. That's all right.
Yeah.
Folks, I've been talking with Dee Lucas, saxophonist Dee Lucas, and he is doing some amazing things. It's like some chart toppers, that is for sure. Now, you have a lot of great music that's out there, and I see that you have been collaborating, so talk to me about one of your latest songs. And, let's talk about, you mentioned Full Tilt, and it's interesting. I'll go back to a little bit. It's interesting. And when you mentioned Full Tilt and the reason why you created that and what was your passion behind it, your meaning behind it, as you were talking, I started playing it in my head. I started playing that entire song in my head because I like that song. And so as you were talking, I had to make sure I'm paying attention because that song just resonated a lot more for me personally. Right. And so it's impacting me, already. But some of your other ones that you've collaborated with, and I'm just really amazed by. But what I want to do is, because we have a few more moments here, I want to discuss one of your latest, Sir D. Talk to me about that one and the meaning behind that.
Sir D is produced by a great friend of mine from the Philadelphia area. He lives in L. David P. Stevens. Great, phenomenal. He produced the record. We were sitting around, thinking about some ideas. I said, I want to do something that I can identify myself. But at the same time, I want to pay homage to someone that's pretty much has been a inspiration to me as an artist. And we got to thinking about Stevie Wonder. And I think Stevie Wonder resonates with everyone because his music is feel-good music. And he's the epitome and the blueprint of feel-good music. And David and I, we worked on that record back in the summer. And I wanted something that I can identify with, that I can share with other people, again, that everyone can relate with. Everyone can relate to Stevie Wonder. Everyone can also relate to feel-good music. And I think that's just what we need right now. There's some exciting people that's on that record. I don't know if you know Frank McComb. Frank McComb,
oh, yes.
He played the organ on that thing. And Carl Cox, he's sax player. So if you hear those sax lines, those hooks, that's Carl Cox, man. That guy's amazing. Eric Valentine on drums. He's played with the who's who of smooth jazz. But it was a fun record. And I tell you, David worked me to death. He wanted to make sure I got it right. He said, D, go back and do this. I want you to think like Stevie. Really think like Stevie, as if he was playing it, as if he would do it. So I had to really dig and think about his phrasing, his voicing. And, once I finally sent it to David, he said, okay, now we got it. Hey, man, it's doing really well. But that's just one of those records I really think. It started out slow on radio. We dropped it on November 13th, I think. And it is slowly picking up momentum on the radio charts. It hit number one on a couple of the countdown stations. The station's countdowns are top 20. And it's doing really well. Very proud of that record. It's actually going to be on the upcoming new album, No Boundaries, coming out in March. Oh,
definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And so that's Sir D. Now, before we go, what I want to do is let people know how they can reach you, on social media. I know you're on social media, so how can people contact you and find out more about what's happening with you, your tour dates, calendar, things of that nature?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, you can go to my official website, which is deelucas.com, DEE Lucas.com. That's my website, and I keep all my schedule, my touring dates update to the minute. And of course, I'm on Facebook. I have a personal page, Dee Lucas, and then I have my music page, Dee Lucas Sax. So make sure you hit the like button, follow me on my Dee Lucas music page. And of course, I'm on Instagram, dlucas.sax. And of course, hey, hit me up on YouTube, D1 Lucas. Subscribe to my Dee Lucas, D1 Lucas page on YouTube, because I'm always putting video content out there now.
Okay, excellent. So you heard that, folks. dlucas.com is its home base right there, and you'll find out a lot more about what we talked about today, as tour dates and things of that nature. A lot of things is happening for him. Don't forget his in March, he's dropping that new record, and No Boundaries. But what I want to do, D, as we end, I want to end it with, as we end, we're going to end it with Sir D, which is, in remembrance of, not remembrance, but how you appreciate and respect Stevie Wonder, and listen to Carl Cox and Eric Valentine, Frank McComb, that's collaborating with you on that particular track. I appreciate you just hanging out with me today for a few minutes. Thank you. I know that you got to get back in, you're in the studio now, and I know you got to get back into doing what you're doing, but thank you for hanging out with me, man. And I'm sure the listeners enjoy it too.
It's my pleasure. I really thank you for having me, and continue to do what you're doing as well as Sacramento Smooth Jazz, and that is to put the music in front of the listeners, because we need you. We need you to help put our music, use us as a vehicle. Well, actually, you're the vehicle, and you putting our music out there in front of the listeners. So thank you so much. What you're doing is priceless, man. Man,
it's my pleasure. You make it easy with the great music that you're doing. So folks, what we're going to do now, we're going to end it with Dee Lucas's latest, Sir D, right here on Sacramento Smooth Jazz. Thanks again, Dee. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Peace.
Thanks for listening to Sacramento Smooth Jazz. To continue listening to Smooth Jazz 24/7, follow Sac Smooth Jazz on social media and listen by going to sacsmoothjazz.fm.